Nahida. The answer is Nahida.
What's going on, YouTube? Ledger here once again, this time at you again with some more Genshin Impact, of course. And the question of Baizhu versus Nahida is starting to come up because was led to believe that next patch we might get a Nahida rerun based on the patterns that we've had with previous Archons. They usually come about 4 patches after their release. Venti 1.0 release, 1.4 rerun. You know, same thing with Zhongli, same thing with Raiden. And now we can assume the same thing with Nahida, along with another story quest and possibly another world boss. So if you guys haven't done her first story quest, you should probably do that, all right? Because you're going to need to do that second one. With that, though, the long-awaited Baizhu is also coming next patch. So 3.6 is probably going to have a couple hard decisions. I don't know what the other reruns are going to be. You know, I have ideas, but you know, nothing's confirmed with that yet, but I'm pretty certain that he's going to be there. So let's talk about which one you should pick, Baizhu or Nahida. And initially, even though I did say Nahida, more goes into it than that. So hear me out and let me try and explain this here to you. But first, if you do like my content, if you do feel my content is informative, or my other content if you find it entertaining when it comes to my reactions, things like that, definitely subscribe to the channel. You know, I was on my road to 1,000. You know, I wanted to reach 1,000 subscribers by March. Didn't happen. March come to a close, but doesn't matter. You know, you fail, you keep trying again. So I'm still here, still chugging along. So if you guys can help me get to 1,000 subscribers, I would really appreciate it. All right, but let's get into this here. So first, I wanted to start with Baizhu. I'm going to talk about some of the things that Baizhu doesn't do as well as Nahida, but in no way am I saying that Baizhu is a bad unit, because he's not. So I don't want you to mistake this as doom posting. I just need to understand that Nahida is the Archon of Dendro. So she should be the best Dendro unit, or does what she does the best in terms of Dendro, right? Baizhu is going to be a shielder and healer for Dendro, right? Of the Dendro element, right? He's going to be a catalyst user. He is going to be what we all hope for him to be, a good healer, right? And he is. He heals really well. But the fact of the matter is, in terms of Dendro application, he pales in comparison to Nahida, right? His all-field Dendro application seems to be relatively low, right? Granted, I need to see some actual live testing. I need to be able to actually test it myself. I'm going to get him and see exactly how his Dendro application works. But when it comes on paper, it's not looking like he's going to apply that much Dendro. You know, even though with compositions like Spread and Aggravate, you know, the quicken reactions, you know, you don't need that much Dendro application. But for some of the other ones, like the different Bloom reactions, Hyper Bloom, which is considerably the most broken reaction that Dendro has, I would say that, you know, you're going to need a lot of Dendro application for that. So the more Dendro application a character has, a lot of time the better they are for most situations. But he seems to have pretty low Dendro application, so that is a minus for him when it comes to him versus Nahida. Also too, Baizhu, he doesn't supply a lot of damage, right? When it comes to his scalings, looking at his numbers, his healing scales off of HP, so you're gonna want to stack HP on him. But his attacks, they scale off of attack. So when it comes to that, and the scaling isn't that high either. So even if you stack attack on him, he's still not gonna hit that hard. So the fact of the matter is, he's gonna apply some Dendro, but that's about it. It seems his main thing is going to be about healing, all right? It's just gonna be, he's gonna be healing you and shielding you all day. And the shield isn't gonna be strong either. Shield's gonna be a relatively weak shield, kind of like Toma's, but it keeps refreshing, so it will keep you protected, right? The way I look at it, one of the main focuses of that shield is to protect you from the self-damage that Dendro does give at times. I think that's really the main purpose of the shield, because even the shield heals you. So I think the healing is actually supposed to be the true protection, the true defensive capabilities of it, and just protect you from the blooms. He doesn't supply a lot of damage. And Nahida, as we know, does supply a lot of damage. Her E skill actually hits pretty hard, especially when you build for it, right? Even if you stack EM on her, it still hits hard. If you give her some crit damage, if you do different things with her, her E does hit hard, but it's not seem like the case for Baizhu, right? So he's not going to really supply a lot of off-field damage. He's just going to apply a little bit of Dendro and some healing. And then also too, he, in terms of buffing your on-field units, he doesn't really buff them that much. What he does is he buffs the reactions. He buffs the Dendro-related reactions, which is great. And he also does buff Dendro damage. So if you're not using a Dendro damage dealer, then you know that passive is going to do much for you when it comes to how he boosts Dendro damage. I believe it's by 20% or 25%. I'm out for double check when it comes to that. And as where Nahida, she gives you up to 250 elemental mastery during her burst, which she has 100 uptime on. So that's the thing. Like, Nahida covers so many more bases than Baizhu, but the thing is Nahida can't heal and Baizhu can, right? In terms of Nahida, to kind of go further into Nahida, like I said before, her burst does have 100% uptime, but so does her skill. Her skill has a lot of uptime because I believe it's about a 5-second cooldown, but her skill lasts for quite some time. Having her skill up is relatively easy. It's kind of hard to screw that up when it comes to that, right? So she's gonna be a constant source of her buffs and her Dendro damage, right? And the Dendro damage is high. She can mark multiple enemies, so most of the time she can mark all the mobs on the field. So she's constantly applying hard Dendro to all these enemies, right? So she's applying a lot of Dendro, when that allows for better reactions, when it comes to bloom reactions, when it comes to quicken uptime, when it comes to all these different things, she is going to be phenomenal when it comes to that. And also too, the thing is, Baizhu has a high energy cost, while Nahida works as a battery, right? So keeping her burst up is very, very easy too, right? Whereas with Baizhu, it could prove to be a challenge. It could prove to be where you need to have a lot of ER on him, or you need to have some type of battery for him, right? Getting more into that later. But that's the thing, so she does all these different things, right? She's an overall fantastic unit. She's one of the best archons that we've gotten. Like, she's unmatched, and it's unfair sometimes to compare her to regular units. But that's the thing. So if Nahida's coming next patch, and you have to choose between the two, choose Nahida in terms of meta. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that have been waiting a long time for Baizhu, and they're in love with him. They're like, oh yes, Baizhu, I can't wait, this and that. And I'm not telling you to not get him if you've been waiting all this time, because if you don't get him and you've been waiting all the time for him, and you go and get Nahida instead, who you might not care for as much, you're gonna regret it. All right, you're gonna regret it. So whoever you like more, make sure you get that person. Let's face it. You know, we saw the debacle that happened with Dia, right? And the fact of the matter is, people do care if a unit is good or not. People can say, oh, meta slaves as much as they want. But the fact of the matter is, no matter how casual the audience is, people care what works best. They do. So when you come and you think, well, what works best? Fact of the matter is, it's going to be Nahida. That's just that. The proof is in the pudding. All right. There is another aspect that I want to bring to the table here, right? Because let's face it, Nahida has some pretty big sales on her first run. So a lot of people have Nahida. So for those people that do have Nahida, should you go for her cracked Constellation 2? Should you go for her weapon? Or should you go for Baizhu instead? Well, in that case, I'm going to tell you guys that you should go for Baizhu instead. Why is that? Because the thing is, Baizhu and Nahida are going to work together very, very well. Why I say that? Because I do feel that if you take Baizhu's advantages, right, and you take Nahida's advantages, they kind of cover each other's flaws, right? Not that they're saying Nahida has really flaws, but she can't heal, you know? It is what it is, you know? But the things that I said about Baizhu, that's all remedied if you pair him with Nahida. I don't think you should get either of their weapon, right? So if the question is, should you get Nahida's weapon or not? No, you don't do it. I have Nahida's weapon, but it's really not a big deal. She has many different options, right? Which I did cover in a past video, but if you want to take a look at that, go ahead. So neither of them need their weapon, right? So you can just grab them both C0 and call it a day, right? But Prototype, I'm gonna put Prototype Amber on Baizhu, but you can give him Thrilling Tales. You can give him those things. He's not going to be picky in terms of that because his weapon is similar to Kokomi's donut. So pairing them together is going to be great. Another thing is that because, like I said earlier, Baizhu has a high energy cost, so he's going to need a battery. Well, guess who can work as a Dendro battery? Nahida. Nahida supplies a lot of energy when her E skill goes off, right? So she's going to be able to battery Baizhu while Baizhu is protecting her and buffing her, because remember I said he does buff Dendro damage. So like if you want to do an on-field spread Nahida, you can do that with Baizhu because he's protecting her and he's boosting her Dendro damage, which is fantastic. And he's boosting the reaction damage. So that's phenomenal, right? So they're going to help each other when it comes to that. Also, the other different compositions that they can do together, right? So let's say you have Baizhu and Nahida. Well, what teams can you put them on? Because right off the bat, they do have Dendro resonance. So so with them together, they're supplying even more EM to the team, which is going to help even more with the reactions that you're going to want to do with Dendro, because with Dendro, the more the merrier when it comes to EM. One thing that I'm personally going to try and do is a Nilo team, right? Because the thing with Nilo is she was very restricted when she first came because you didn't have many different combinations you can use with her. I mean, we do have a Yao Yao, but Baizhu is going to be a step up from Yao Yao, of course, in terms of that, right? He's a 5-star. He's a leeway 5-star at that, so he is going to be a better version of Yao Yao. But that's all the more reason why you should get Nahida over Baizhu. But I do put Baizhu high up there because of the capabilities that he does have. He's going to be able to do more than Yao Yao. People might argue that, like, oh, you know, Yao Yao can do just fine. Yeah, sure, she can do just fine, but Baizhu's going to be better. Let's just be real here. But yeah, one team I want to do is a Nilo team where I have a really good a healer that protects me from the self-damage by constantly supplying shields. So where it adds a little more flexibility. So now I can do Ayato on a Nilo team instead, right? Because Ayato is going to be supplying a whole lot of Hydro. And then I'm going to have two good Dendro teammates boosting my EM. Yeah, doing all kinds of stuff there. So that's to me, that's great right there, right? That's one team right there. Also, with two Dendro units, you know, you're gonna have the Dendro Resonance helping you with aggravate teams or hyper or quick bloom teams or things like that. You know, so maybe with Sino, I think that Baizhu's gonna be a real good help when it comes to Sino, because now Sino can use the Dendro Resonance. He's gonna get more EM. You know, now you can pair him with Yalan or Xingqiu and don't really lose much quicken up time. So Sino's gonna be able to do more damage now, while still being able to get those hyper blooms off. That's beautiful, right? Things like that. I might not try him too much with Alhaitham, because doing those two together with Alhaitham, that's triple Dendro, and I do think Alhaitham's best team is a quick bloom team. So having an Electro unit and a Hydro unit on there, I do feel that is going to be beneficial. But, you know, you can still pair Alhaitham with Baizhu by himself instead of both of them. But I do think that Nahida is going to be the better teammate in that situation, right? So for these reasons, even though Nahida C2 is cracked and is great, and like I usually do recommend going for it if Baizhu wasn't here. So if you're on the fence when it comes to that, if you're on the fence trying to decide if you should get C2 Nahida or Baizhu, I'd say that the better option is to just go to new character. I usually think that getting a new character is better than getting constellations under rare circumstances. I would say that them together as a team is going to be the true bread and butter. It's going to be a pretty meta combination. But that's my 2 cents right there, you know? That's where I wanted to get out. I hope that is helpful information for you guys when it comes to that. So, long story short, if you don't have either, meta-wise, get Nahida. If you have Nahida already and you're thinking about getting constellations for her or her weapon, don't worry about any of that. Just go ahead and get Baizhu, right? And then past that, anything after that is just Nahida constellations. Don't worry about Baizhu constellations, all right? So that is what I have for you when it comes to that right there, if you are wondering what you should do, okay? Now, if you have any questions, definitely comment down below. I'll feel free to answer the questions for any comments. If you have anything that you want to add to the conversation, definitely feel free to add it down there. If you like the content that I give you, like the video, and also, of course, subscribe to the channel so I can get you more information like this. With that, I'll end it here. Legend out.